there's criticism and there is critical thinking, and they're completely different. Dr. Nick joins us to explain why.
Don't you think? What would your gut say? What's criticism? If I'm always critical of you.
You're insulting.
Insulting, negating, complaining, seeing the dark side, seeing what you're not. Seeing what you're not instead of what you are. What critical thinking? Evaluating, weighing. We can't spend every moment of our day critical thinking on a decision because we'll go crazy.
Okay.
Some things are going to be automatic, like how we get to the store. I'm not going to sit around and think, well, is there a better way? Now, sometimes if the traffic's bad, we might get into critical thinking.
Sure.
In terms of what might be my alternatives. That's critical thinking. Critical thinking is when we question, when we're curious enough to say how many sides or different perspectives are there to the issue. Critical thinking is trying to take the emotion out of it and looking at something objectively.
Can we do that?
Yes, we can. Let me give you just a couple of quick examples, or one just for the start. How many apps do we need? Don't you think that's a perfect question today for anyone, especially young people. How many apps do we need?
Right. Probably not the 40 on my phone.
And don't you think it would be critical thinking to sit back and say, you know, I never use this app. Boop.
Right.
What am I holding on to it for? What do I want it for? It's just critical thinking. Or when I want to say something like, well, I think he's doing a great job, and that may be my emotion because I like him. And critical thinking would be looking at the data, looking at the facts, searching for what really is he doing instead of I just like him. Don't you think we need more of that in our national dialogue?
Oh, please.
Less emotion and more critical thinking. What about critical thinking of my own posture, my own stance, my own political leanings?
See, that's where I think critical thinking gets difficult when we have to examine ourselves.
Of course it does.
How objective can I be?
Of course it does. And that objectivity is just absolutely, to me, critical in being able to then move it to the next decision.
Okay. To action, really.
Action. Let's look at Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Critical thinking in terms of
the city as a whole.
Streets.
Oh, traffic.
The bridge to Lafayette. I don't know that we're ever going to be able to figure it out. But man, talk about something that needs critical thinking.
Sure.
And I'm not necessarily saying that
problem.
It needs another study.
There've been plenty of those. That's the data you were talking about. But then we have to move on to how are we really going to fix this?
Yeah, and decisions have to be made. But I just think with weighing things and looking at, again, possibilities, this is why I think people, remember the TED study that we talked about where the researcher was saying that the greatest factor of longevity is social interaction?
Yes.
And connecting with people? How does critical thinking come to be? When we are with people that are different, that express different views, but that themselves are not tied up in emotion, that are somewhat rational.
I like that. Thank you. I'm going to go forward this week and make sure I do some critical thinking on big things.
When it comes to making choices, don't you think just real quick, don't you think you need to do critical thinking when you're asked to do all sorts of things? And the best thing to say is let me think about it.
You have given
me think about it.
24-hour
and then
rule.
you decide that's not the best place for me to spend that energy or that time, or I've got to get this done.
You're right.
It's now we're into, again, where am I putting the time? Where am I putting the energy? It's critical thinking.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that with this upcoming Saturday. I've got too many things on the plate. I'm never gonna do any of them well if I don't shave a few things off. So there you go.
And you can do that, by the way.
Right.
And you can do that without insulting people. You can just say, I overloaded the plate. I'm sorry. But do it soon. I don't know that I'd wait till Friday.
That's right. That's important. Don't. Because sometimes on pleasant things, disappointing things, right. I drag my feet on. So
that's right.
I'm not going to do that.
That's good.
Go find someone else.
That's good, Whitney, because that's also critical thinking in that, I can do this.
Great.
I can do this.
Thanks, Dr. Nick.
Just don't criticize.
Yeah.
Critical thinking is different.
Thanks. Thanks so much for that reminder. More Weekends with Whitney after this.